that a key concept that a lot of club movements are going to build upon is pivoting. Learning how to pivot enhances your total body rotation. It allows you to increase your power, and it helps to protect your lower back. So very simply, keeping the club nice and close to the body, or this can be done starting without a club. If people are having difficulties with it, I'm going to start with the club, nice and close to the body, arms are bent, and what I'm doing is I'm having my navel, which is right in my center of my torso, and my back foot stay congruent with each other, so move together. So as I turn through my navel, I'm rotating through that back foot to get a nice, even total body rotation. And that's our pivot. It's the one-handed TNT. We're going to start on the dominant hand first, choked up on the club, so grabbing up nice and high on the handle. Our opposite arm is going to go to our shoulder. We're standing in a neutral stance, feet about shoulders width apart. We're bringing the club out. This is position 1. Bicep is towards the ear. Position 2, the club's going to come towards the spine. Position 3, we're going to use that pivot and cast the club out. So 1, 2, pivot and cast. 3. Now, as we get the hang of this movement, we are going to be turning steps 1, 2, and 3 into one fluid motion, and there's going to be less sound, less audible feedback as we combine steps 1, 2, and 3. This is the two-handed TNT. It's a great movement for integrating total body rotation, opening up the thoracic cavity and opening up the shoulders. We're going to take this movement in a step-by-step approach to really break it down. So I'm starting with my non-dominant hand on top because I already did my dominant side. Normally, you would start with your dominant hand on top. So my left hand's on top of the bell. I'm using a split grip. I'm turning my front foot, which is my left foot, out to 45 degrees, and my back foot's going to pivot. I'm going to cast out into the horizontal plane. From here, I'm going to go to step 1, which is reaching back. Club is going to come towards my spine. Step 3, I'm in the center. It's essential that we get comfortable with this center position because it's key for the transition. Step 4, I'm going to be pivoting the opposite direction. Step 5, I'm going to cast out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine 2, 3, 4, and then 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's going to smooth that transition. Key points here are that we stay upright, and even though we're casting out, we're not rounding the spine or starting to lean forward. We're maintaining our upright position. This is a ground strike with side shuffle. This is a great full body movement. It can get metabolic really quickly, and it's also good for developing that lateral agility. So we're going to start in a mixed grip. I'm putting my dominant hand on top. I'm doing a basic recovery by just bringing the club back overhead in line with my spine. Now, as I come down, I'm going to be decelerating, hinging back from my hips, and striking the club down. I'm going to come up. So, key point here is that I'm not rounding the back to strike down. I'm keeping my lower back and my spine nice and upright. So, with the side shuffle, we're going to be doing a basic recovery first, coming down, bringing the legs together, then apart. Next, we have the open and cross hand recovery. So, keeping the split grip, starting with the hands overhead, I'm going to come down, and then I'm going to do a cross hand recovery, come down, open hand recovery. Exercise is known as drill drivers. This integrates strength through the lat, the arm, the shoulders, and the core. So to initiate with this exercise, we're using a staggered stance. One leg's going to be in front of the other, and the club is going to be in the hand that's opposite the front leg. That's going to promote cross-lateralization. That hand-leg opposite connection is within our body. So with this movement, we're going to be starting pulling the elbow back and bringing our opposite hand to touch the head of the club, and we're going to be pronating our arm on the way down, and we're going to be supinating on the way up. You can really get a great pump throughout your arm, your forearm, and that coil of that rotation really helps with a lot of athletic movements that, you know, even running or throwing a punch. There's so many carryovers into our athleticism. A key component here is, you know, as we're coming down, we want to make sure that we're not dropping and rounding the back, but we're pulling that elbow back and we're keeping the spine nice and straight as we're coming up and down. Also making sure that we're breathing for each rep. This exercise is called casting squat. It uses leverage and counterweight balance to improve the quality of the squat. So we're starting in a split grip. We're bringing the arms back overhead, and as we reach the arms back overhead, we want to avoid this excessive arching of the lower back. We want to keep the spine nice and straight, make sure the ribs are in, abs are slightly engaged. Feet can turn out slightly, and from this position, we're going to be sitting back and casting the club out in front of us. And as you can see, the club is giving me a counterweight. So that's allowing me to stay upright. My back is nice and straight. I'm coming up and my back is staying nice and straight. As we progress, we can eventually go below parallel with the butt dropping below the knees, but only if the lower back is staying in proper position. So again, casting squat, I'll do the non-dominant side, toes facing slightly out, arms are casting in front as the hips drop down, and as we come up, we're reaching the club overhead. If we want to increase the leverage, we can bring the hands closer together. That's going to increase the leverage. The distance that the club goes away from us. It can also end up challenging the grip slightly more. This is known as hockey players. It's great for lateral agility. So I'm going to start with my dominant hand on top in a split grip. What I'm doing is I'm getting into this position here with my back leg crossed over and with my arms out pretty much like I'm swinging a bat. So from here we're going to break it down step by step. I'm going to be swinging across, stepping out laterally, and bringing my leg back. So from this position I'm going to go out and I'm rolling the wrists. This is a nice fluid deceleration, getting a nice deep range of motion. So as I start to pick up the pace, and now what I'm going to do is just take my leg back, really challenging my balance on those landings. That was hockey players with fluid deceleration. And again, rolling my wrist from side to side as I'm doing those. Next, we're going to do an anti-rotation drill with the same exercise, and it's going to be with a fixed wrist, and this is sudden deceleration. So it's really working the core stabilizers for anti-rotation. So here, we're going to start on the same side. My right hand's on top, starting with the club out. So what I'm doing eventually when I pick up the pace with anti-rotation hockey players, my midline is almost staying in the same place as my legs are just moving side to side. So that can get metabolic really quickly. Definitely very challenging.